Okay, hello everyone. So we are back. Let's jump right in. So we were talking about how we can generate the output based on our slides, based on our topic, based on our configuration. So now let's say I'm studying acute appendicitis and I've finished, studying it, right? I need to test myself. We can test ourselves with the studio output here. So we can select, let's say, a slide on acute appendicitis, right? So let me do Control F, acute, and then I search for appendicitis. Now, here is the acute appendicitis slides. So I have appendicitis, right? This is the actual slide. I can also select this one too if I wanted, but this is the actual slide that I wanted to use. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to deselect these sources and then just select one source. So I have to make sure that it is one source that I selected. So I can generate audio, videos, slide decks, mind maps, etc. on that one source that has been selected. Or I can take this, output that NotebookLM has given me, this integrated output, save it to notes, which will appear here like this. All right. So when you save it to notes, if you go offline and you come back, it's still going to be there. One thing about offline in Notebook LM is that when you go offline, you won't be able to see things like videos and audios, flashcards, quizzes here, but you can see the notes. So that's something. So it's like if you want to save it for offline reading, or if you want to save it so that it's not cluttered in the whole thing, then that's what you can do. So you can save this as an output, and again, you can press on this button, convert it into Google Docs, convert it into Google Sheets, and all of that. But the most important thing here is converting this note again into a source. So when I convert this note into a source and you look here on the left side, you can see that this note, which was inside the chat pane, saved as a note in the studio output, has now been brought as a source. So when it is a source like this, what it means is that if I want to set questions based on the output that Notebook LM gave me, I can now also select this output, this whole output, as a source. You understand? So if I select that as a source, then I can let my audios, videos, etc. be based on that source. So I can deselect all of them and then only press on this source. So now all my questions, all my audios, all my videos will be based on this source, which is the output that Notebook LM gave me. If I only want it to be based on just the slides, I can click it. If I want it to be based on both, which is what most of the time I do, I can click that one as well. So now what you can do is that you want to test yourself after you finish learning this whole thing. So we test ourselves with the flashcards and the quizzes, right? What you do is that I already have, flashcards and quizzes that I've already generated. So I click on that button, press view custom prompt, and I see the custom prompt that I used. So you see how specific it is. Set 100 questions from this source on Benz, focusing on the DAPSICA, right? So that's the places that is going to focus on. I just do copy and then I click on the flashcards, making sure it's still one source, and I paste it. I click on more and I change this to acute, or I just write appendicitis. So now that's the topic name. I can make it medium or hard. I just choose medium and start generating. So now the flashcards are going to take some time, then they'll generate. You see, it says based on one source, which is here. So this is how I can generate flashcards based on the slides. If I wanted to generate flashcards again based on the output that Notebook LM gave me, I can. So now when the flashcards are done generating, at the same time whilst it's generating, I can go and generate the quiz. So I'll just press on my Benz quiz utilizing the same prompt, press on the pencil to configure it, do a simple copy and paste, change this topic to appendicitis, and then I press on more, and then we generate. So now I'm generating the tools that I need to test myself on whatever I've studied. Because as I always keep saying, the only way to know that you have studied something, or the only way to know that you actually know something, is when you test yourself, when you're able to answer questions, when you're able to retrieve that information from memory. That's how you actually build retention. You don't just build retention by reading all of this. Here, you are just absorbing information. You build retention by trying to retrieve this information that you have absorbed, which will come about when you're answering questions. So now our flashcards have finished generating. Let's go over how the flashcards are. So when you press on flashcards, you see that we said it should generate 100 cards. So it has generated 100 for us. So you can click on this button and it will expand the viewer. You can click on this button again and to make it small. So you can effectively do the whole flashcard, but when you click on this button, you just expand it. When you press on these three dots at the top here, you can restart the flashcard set again. So if you restart it, it's going to start from the first question all the way to the last. If you shuffle it, you are going to change the order of the questions, right? You see now it's starting from the first concept to the last. If you shuffle it, the questions will come in a disordered manner, which can be useful when you are just wanting to solve questions from any part. But then when you shuffle it, you can't shuffle it back or bring it back to the original format or the original layout, right? So you just have to be mindful of the shuffling. And then you can download the flashcard set as a CSV file, which you can then go and input into your flashcard space repetition memorization app of choice, which is Anki. You understand? So now, effectively, if NotebookLM had space repetition, then NotebookLM will be the 100% N or B or app for not just medical students, but for any student. Unfortunately, NotebookLM doesn't have space repetition, and so inbuilt space repetition is in Anki. But then Anki is not difficult to use when you actually learn it. And I've been able to study Anki for some while now, and I've seen ways and means by which we can utilize Anki not only for free, but then to be able to make sure that the memorization and the space repetition algorithm is actually working well for us. Now, currently, the cards and the quizzes are only able to test ourselves. We are not able to make sure that the wrong questions repeat at any set interval. I don't know if in the future, if Google, you are watching this, try and add space repetition into the flashcards, you make NotebookLM the N or B or app. But right now, NotebookLM is 95%. So we still need to use another app, Anki, right? But then Anki is a very easy app to use. So it's like a side app. Everything is in NotebookLM. I just put my flashcards into Anki just to do space repetition. And I'll show you, as I said, how you can even make that one better so that you will not be overwhelmed with flashcards and that you are actually memorizing the most important things. So now when you are doing flashcards in NotebookLM, you see the question on the front, you can press on it, you see the answer at the back. Whenever you see this explain, it will then jump right there, and then you can go and explain more about the card. You understand? So if let's say you are solving a card and you got it wrong, you can press on this explain button and it will explain the answer for you. Again, taking it from all the sources. And because of my configuration, right? Let me show you what I mean. So when I click on the explain button, it's going to say I was reviewing flashcards and I found out this thing. Explain this topic more in detail. Again, you see that I've only mentioned two sources. So it was two sources that I was using to generate. So the answer is only going to come from two sources. You understand? So what is happening is that when it comes to explaining and all of that, it's not just going to give you explain this answer straight away. Because of the format that I have, it's going to explain everything again in the Dapsicam format. So it's going to explain everything before it even comes to give you, that one thing that you are talking about. Again, trying to show you where that information connects in the overall, information, right? Or the overall topic. Uh-huh. If you don't want that, when you are explaining further after you've utilized the configuration, you can just put it on default. Don't remove the custom, put it on default, and let me show you what this means. Let's say you want it to explain, and now you don't want it to be in the Dapsicam format. You just want it to explain this topic, right? Let me select all the sources. So instead of it starting again from the Dapsicam format, right? Let me show you even how this was when I was solving a particular question yesterday. So we want to jump to the part that I was solving yesterday. Okay, seems like yes. So now this is what happened. I was taking a quiz and then the answer was absent cremasteric reflex. Help me to understand this topic. So it didn't just explain that, oh, the cremasteric reflex means that this. No, it actually started out that before we actually start talking about the cremasteric reflex, let's talk about testicular torsion. And then it gave me a whole tutorial on testicular torsion. And then to explain things that I didn't even find out, you understand, or I didn't even know. And so again, it says mastering the clinical examination of the acute scrotum, you understand. And then it gave me the whole thing based on my configuration. Now, if I don't want it to do that, and I just want it to give me the answer, absent cremasteric reflex means that if I stroke the inner thigh, the cremaster muscle is supposed to contract and elevate the testis. It doesn't do that. So the cremaster muscle will not contract and will not elevate the testis in testicular torsion. If I just want it to explain it per this answer, what I'll do is that I don't delete my custom prompt. I just set it at default and now I save it. Now when I set it at default and I save it, you see the custom prompt is still there. So don't worry, it hasn't gone. I just set it at default and I save it. I don't know why it clicked on in one or two sentences, help me to use these sources. Okay, I don't understand. Um, okay, it says I can help you master clinical reasoning and surgical management by teaching topics using the and in addition I can help you generate okay, it is just like talking about what it can do. You understand? So I didn't even know about this, but it's like in one or two sentences per the configuration. What can you do for me? So you can read this. But what I wanted to say is that let's test out using the default um configuration. Explain the sequence. Or let me use an actually good question. So if I press on this button, I can go to the next question, right? So let's say this question, which is talking about the McBurney's point. Let's press on explain. So now you are going to see that it's not going to go in theory, it's not going to go in the Dapsicam format. It's going to start everything and just give me the answer straightforward, like as if I haven't configured this before. And voila, this is what I meant. So now you can see that it didn't start by just talking about it in the Dapsicam format, right? It didn't give me 5 viva questions that they may ask. It didn't give me red flags. It didn't give me investigations and all. It just answered the question for me. You understand? So if you want that, which I feel like is good because, for these explanations, you just want to know the answer. You can set it at default. If I set it at custom and I save it, the same McBurney's point, explain the answer again. And let's see what is going to happen. And so you can see that it's going to give me this explanation in the Dapsicam format. That's how powerful configuring your notebook can send you to. And so when you configure your notebook like this, your answers are specific. And that's how AI is. Garbage in, garbage out. Look at it now. So when you look at it, you see that we just had, oh, for a final year medical student, understanding this is crucial. And you talked about McBurney's point. Now that we change the configuration, look at how it's talking about it. Definition, epidemiology, risk factors, pathophysiology, clinical features, differentials, management. This is what we mean. When you configure the notebook, you make it specific to your liking. So if you just want a quick explanation, default. In fact, if you want an even quicker explanation, default, default, or default shorter. Now, let's test out default shorter. 1 or 2 sentences. Like, explain this topic within like 2 seconds. You understand? So, if I press on this explain, which is what we are going to generate, and we are using default shorter, all right? We are using default shorter. Um, Let me see. Default shorter is supposed to give it to me in a very, short format. And so, yeah. Okay, seems like the configuration somehow didn't change. But we saw that it changed when we were using the default. So let me just stick with custom. So when you are solving past flashcards, you can use your arrow keys to cycle between the flashcards, right? To move from the next one or the previous one. Or you can just use these buttons. You can use space bar to review the answer at the back, or you can just press on it. And so when you are done with all your flashcards, right? When you are done answering all your flashcards, at the end, they are going to give you a score. They are going to give you how much time you actually used to solve the flashcards. And then they are going to give you something that you can review the whole flashcard or solve only the ones that you got wrong, which is very good so that you can focus on your weak areas. Or another time, when you come back, you can tackle your weak areas. So when I go and I search for another flashcards, see this flashcards on school task winners. When I open this flashcards on school task winners, apparently I restarted it again. I wanted flashcards that I haven't, restarted. Let me see. Let me open flashcards on gastric outlet obstruction. And so now you can see that I answered 62 correct, no wrongs, and I'm at this number 85. So when I'm done with it, it's going to mark me. How many questions did I skip? How long did I use? I should practice it again. Should I practice only the cards that I missed? Or I should practice the whole thing? So this is very, very good. So I can tackle your weak areas and you can test yourself. Talking about the quiz, our quiz just finished generating. We said it should do 40 questions and lo and behold, it did. When you press on this button, you can show the prompt that we used, which you can copy and paste. When you press on this button, you can expand it. So now you can see that with the quiz, all right, it's MCQ questions. Whenever you press on any answer, it's going to tell you why that answer is correct or why that answer is wrong. So now this answer is wrong. This is the correct answer. It's going to give you an explanation. Then you can also press on the same explain button and then it will explain that information for you even more. And what I've realized is that the AI is very good at explanations. And so sometimes, even if the information is not in any of your resources, some way, somehow, it still searches online or it's like it's already baked into the AI. I don't know how Google does it, but the explanations are so good. And so when you are done, you can move to the next question. Let me just select any answer, and this is the right answer. When I come here, I press on any one of them. It shows me why this one is wrong, why this one is correct. I can click on this button and we can go and explain. So I was doing a quiz and then this answer was incorrect. They said this is the answer. Why is my answer incorrect? You understand? And so it can explain it better for you. And again, after you are done, it will mark you so that you can track your progress. And so effectively, this is how you can test yourself. So you look at this, it's saying my answer was incorrect because of this and this and that. And now look at it. The answer that is coming here is not in the Dapsicam format. It's just in the default. I think they used, yes, it's custom by still default. So the configuration really matters when you are using Notebook LM. So again, you can hover over that place and see where this information is coming from, right? So that's very good. Now, the next thing is about audio and video. Now, I don't want to generate audios and videos now. They actually take quite some time to generate, but I just want to show you the usefulness. So I want to look at audios and videos that I've already generated. Let's click on this video. Again, you can download the video onto your device so that you can, watch it at another time. So if it's able to load in a bit, I can play the video. Now, you might not hear the sound very well, but just follow me. So basically, you can customize how the video is looking like and all. The prompt that I used is this, that it should discuss burns, but it should talk as if it's a clinical tutorial in surgery, teaching a medical student afresh. You understand? So if I want to have a video to study from, that's how I can do it. Let's look at the audio. Now there are two modes when it comes to your audio. You can have the normal mode, which is this. The normal mode is whereby you just play the audio, you can pause, you can scrap through, you can send it forward, you can change the speed, but then you can't interact with it. But then there's another mode which is called interactive, whereby you can jump in like a caller on a radio show or in a podcast and ask them questions. So let's play this one and see. So the reason why they are addressing me as a medical student is all from my prompt. When you look at the prompt that I put for my audios, right? When I look at previous audios and you look at the prompt that I put in, I said they are clinical tutors in surgery teaching a medical student afresh. So if you don't add some of these things, they will not address you like that. You understand? They will just talk about the topic, but then they will not address you like that. Again, if you don't have the custom prompt such that you are making them focus on the dapsicam, they will just talk about any part of the topic and leave some relevant parts outside. So if you have that, they'll address you like that. So the other thing that you can do is to jump inside. Now, I don't know whether my recording is actually picking this up, but you can press on this interactive mode, right? And then when you press on this interactive mode, you can do this. Okay, so now it's going to use my microphone. So I'm going to ask them a question. So, um, please, what are we studying today? Please, what are we studying today? So as you can see, that's how it is. I feel like when I record from my laptop, you are not able to hear it well. So let me take my phone. Notebook LM is available on App Store, on Play Store, everywhere. So whatever that you do on your machine, like on your PC, appears on your phone and vice versa. So I'm going to play the recording on my phone so that you can hear it via my screen recording on my laptop. So now I'm going to play the recording.
Coming through the double doors. Exactly. It is a world. Imagine you are stepping off the elevator and you are walking onto the surgery ward for the very first time. Oh, yeah, that intense first day. Right. You are a medical student. Yeah. And this is your first clinical rotation in trauma. You can literally smell that sharp, sterile scent of chlorhexidine mixed with the metallic tang of the emergency room. Mm-hmm.
So you see, this is one of the recordings. Let me open another recording for you, which was on pneumonia, and you see how they address me.
LDH to serum LDH is greater than zero point 0.6. Welcome, everyone. Or perhaps I should say, welcome to the wards. Yes, welcome to the hospital. Because for this deep dive, we are completely transforming our approach. I want you to imagine right now that you've just swapped your street clothes for a crisp set of scrubs. Hopefully crisp. Usually they're a bit wrinkled from the dispenser. Yeah, exactly. You got a brand new stethoscope draped around your neck. Your pockets are absolutely stuffed with those little peripheral brain notebooks, highlighters, tape. Maybe a snack. Always a snack. You've got this slightly terrifying sense of responsibility. Yeah. And you are
So as you can see, or as you can hear, the audio recording is addressing me as a medical student because of the prompt that I used. So because of the prompt that I've been using in all my audios, which is just a simple copy and paste, they talk as if they are clinical tutors teaching a medical student afresh. Now, let me show you how the jumping inside feels like. So they were talking about pneumonia, right? Let me click on it. When you press on the interactive button,
standing at the nurse's station on a bustling high acuity respiratory medicine floor. It is day one. Today is your very first day on the respiratory medicine firm as a fresh medical student, and we are your clinical tutors. That's right. Our mission for today's clinical rounds is, it's incredibly specific, but all.
okay, let me open another one. So when you press on the interactive, it can take some few seconds before it will load. And so now, if they are talking about the topic, you can jump in, you can ask them questions like, what do you guys mean about this? Can you listen to my explanation? Do you think I'm correct and all of that? So I want it to start loading um on my phone so that we can listen to it in this recording. Seems like it's not opening on my phone. But then we already saw that when I opened it on a laptop. So that's a really cool way of being able to study, whereby you have tutors talking about your topic based on your slides or your textbooks, and you can ask them questions.
Welcome to today's
Okay,
deep dive.
it has started.
I am so incredibly glad you are here with us right now because today we're doing something a little bit different. We are definitely changing up the scenery today. Yeah, we are. I want you to close your eyes for a second.
So now I'm going to ask them a question.
Walk through the double doors of a bus. Oh, our listeners got something to share. Let's hear it.
Hey, my name is Augustine, just a final year medical student now joining the ward. I didn't come early, so I didn't know what topic we are talking about. Can you just let me know what the topic is about?
Augustine, welcome. Hello, Augustine. We are so glad you joined us. Thank you so much for jumping in. That is exactly what we want, engagement. You didn't miss too much, just the atmosphere setting.
So you see, that's what they are saying.
We were
You
asking our
understand?
listener to imagine they just walked through the double doors of a bustling, high-stakes cardiology ward. You've put on your virtual white coat. Yeah, and we are acting as your attending physicians today on your first rotation. And our mission, Augustine, is to completely demystify heart failure. From the anatomy and the math all the way to the.
So you see how they are addressing me. It's based on the prompt. And again, based on the fact that I can jump inside the conversation, I can let them listen to, let's say they are talking about a pathophysiology. I can let them listen to how I can explain it. For example, if I load it again, I can give them an explanation and they will talk about it or they will critique me is so awesome. You understand? And this is where AI has reached in today's day and age, and how we can effectively use this in our studies. So whilst it loads, I want to open the mind maps. As you said, mind maps are very good for being able to see the pictorial representation of a topic, right? Visually, see how the different concepts are connected together. So you see that all of this is on bends. When I expand it, I can expand this one, and every single one of these ones, right, is called a node. Every single, this is the node, right? Every single output inside this node can be explained. So if I press on, let's say this, and I want them to explain maybe the inflammatory mediators, when I press on it, it will go into the chat, all right, and then it will say discuss what these sources are talking about when it comes to inflammatory mediators in the context of pathophysiology and effects when it comes to burns, right? So now the thing I was looking at in the mind map, right, has now been applied here. And so I can enter inside and I can go and read even further. You understand? That's the cool thing about mind maps. Not only can we see a pictorial representation of how the different concepts are connected together, but we can press on any of them and then get more information. So again, we've gone over mind maps, we've talked about the video. With the slide decks, is not something that is really difficult. You just input in your prompt. You talk about whether you want it to be detailed, presenter, whether you want it to be focused or like focus on a particular thing, maybe use a particular type of colors or anything, and then it will generate it for you. And then with the latest updates, we now have the ability to remove the NotebookLM watermark. So when you look at NotebookLM, there's a watermark when you generate the slide deck. So if you don't want anyone to know that it was AI generated, Google has released an update whereby you can effectively remove the watermark. When it comes to data tables, it's basically like an Excel document or an Excel spreadsheet on your sources. Not really useful that much, but one data table that I created, which was even by mistake, was in my medicine final year integrated. And now also everything I talked about in surgery final year integrated applies in medicine final year integrated. All the prompts, all the configuration. The only thing is that now it's not surgery, it's medicine. So there was one data table that I actually created. Here it is. This was even by mistake. I just pressed on a button and then it was all the sources. So as you can see, based on 87 sources, this is a clinical overview of medical conditions and abnormalities. So this is how the level that you can even take Notebook LM to. So that you have a whole table and then you have ACS. It has grouped all the topics like this. So ACS, asthma, pulmonary embolism, and it has grouped all the topics like this in this table. Every single topic in medicine has been grouped into this table, and then it shows you where everything is coming from. So just a ton of features in Notebook LM which can make our studies much better. And as I said, we can do everything in one app. Function F11, by the way, we can understand in Notebook LM via the studio output, via the questions, via the configurations, via the ability to be able to have everything coming from a particular source. That's in the in-text citations. We can organize our medical knowledge in Notebook LM using the fact that in medicine like this, I have CD ACS, CD arrhythmias, CD antihypertensive. It just means cardiology. I have EM mean that emergency medicine. EDC means that endocrine. GI is GI. HE is hematology. ID is infectious disease. So with this, I can group my medical knowledge into specialties right here in Notebook LM. I can test myself and memorize in Notebook LM via the flashcards and also via the quizzes. I can have explanations for any topic that I wasn't or any question that I wasn't able to answer. It can mark me and I can track my progress. We also have learning notes that you can input into Notebook LM. So these were my learning notes when I was learning heart failure. Just some short things that I scribbled down. You can add new learning notes here, and that's very cool of an update that we can do in NotebookLM. So effectively, you can do everything when it comes to studies right here in this app called NotebookLM. And as I said earlier, the only thing that we can do is space repetition. If Google somehow adds space repetition into just the flashcards in NotebookLM, NotebookLM will be 100% the end or be all app for every single student out there. Now, in subsequent videos, I'll be showing you how we can memorize in Anki. So how we can take the flashcards that NotebookLM has generated for us so that we don't inherently have to generate our own flashcards. The AI can do that for us. And then if there is any memorization based content, a drug name, a drug dosage, a criteria, anything that we need to chew or anything that we need to memorize, a guideline for a treatment, some pathways or anything that we need to do, we put that information into Anki. So that the space repetition algorithm in Anki is actually focused on memorizing things that or are facts. You understand? So instead of using Anki to memorize things like what is heart failure, we're actually using Anki to memorize things like what is the dose of spironolactone which is given. You understand? In chronic heart failure. And so that's what we use Anki for. So I'll show you how we can effectively use Anki so that we'll not be overburdened by flashcards. We can build consistency doing our flashcards every day. And so at the end of the day, we can actually be able to retain the information for longer. Now, to close off, I have now shown you everything when it comes to medicine final year integrated, when it comes to surgery final year integrated, all right, building these integrated notebooks, when it comes to the OSCEs, when it comes to the past questions. Again, in subsequent videos, we will delve more into the OSCEs, how we can even ask NotebookLM such that I'll tell NotebookLM generate an OSCE station for me, maybe on thyroid examination. And then wait, I'll give you the step, right? So the step that I'm going to do or the step that I'm going to perform, I'll type it. You grade me on that step. Or wait, I'll type the step and I'll go through the whole examination. Then you grade my examination per the format that is in the sources. All of these are things that are really possible to do in NotebookLM. How we can solve past questions so that when we see the name of the passcode, we can actually go into the past question, open that actual document and then see the actual answer for that past question and how we can apply all of this even better. At this point, I would say that if you've been following these tutorials well, you are about 80% done with all the things that NotebookLM can do when it comes to studies. Further videos will be able to explain everything better. Thank you.